Welcome to Wisdom of the Bible channel. You likely already know the story of the famous giant Goliath, the feared giant from Gath in Philistia. Without a doubt, he is the best-known giant mentioned in the sacred scriptures. However, not many are aware of the intriguing facts and details about this colossal figure and his family of giants. In this video, we will take a close look at the history and roots of Goliath's brothers, the 5 giants who shared his lineage. Therefore, I encourage you to leave a like, share your thoughts, and spread this video to friends, relatives, and anyone else who might find it interesting. Let us now follow the captivating journey through the story and origin of Goliath's 5 giant brothers. Although Goliath is the most renowned giant in the Holy Scriptures, many mysteries still surround his life, his family, and his beginnings. Very few truly know the background of this fearsome and monstrous giant of Scripture. Among the noteworthy aspects of his life is one detail most people overlook: his genetic relatives, meaning his brothers of the same lineage. In fact, Goliath had around 5 brothers belonging to the race of Rephaim giants, also referred to as Rephate giants. The biblical account shows that these 5 brothers of Goliath planned to avenge him as soon as they heard that their kinsman, Goliath of Gath, had been slain by King David himself. Overcome by rage, these 5 giants tried every method they could to destroy the king of Israel. Some experts even claim that one of these giants directly confronted David. Yet, as we will see more clearly, this particular giant was defeated by a friend of one of David's warriors. The people, represented by Israel's fighters, urged David not to keep plunging into new battles, fearing other giants might target him when no one was there to assist. According to the biblical text, once the Israelites departed Egypt, the place of bondage and forced labor, they arrived in Canaan and encountered many Canaanite peoples, tribes, and various giant races. These giants often stood between 10 and 15 feet tall, with an impressive width of about 6.5 feet. A well-known example is King Og of Bashan, who measured roughly 15 feet in height and 6.5 feet in breadth. His body mass was so enormous that he needed a special iron bed to support him. He looked truly monstrous. Besides the Nephilim and the Aniquians, Scripture also references the Rephaim, another primeval tribe of giants. They inhabited Bashan, which today spans part of Jordan and Israel. The term Rephaim can mean mighty men or giants. They are mentioned in Deuteronomy 2:20, 21, and 3:11, and their royal authority is connected to Og, the king of Bashan. Scripture also speaks of a giant people known as the Aniquians, or Anakims. They were a robust, tall group that occupied Canaan before Joshua's Israelite campaign. In Numbers 13:33, the Hebrew scouts noted the sons of Anak as giants, causing alarm and uncertainty among the Israelites. The Bible tells us that most surviving giants, or those who fled from Joshua and Israel, did so because the Israelites destroyed many of them or severely wounded them. Many of these giants sought sanctuary in Philistia, Mesopotamia, and nearby territories, while some migrated to Africa. In fact, stories of these formidable giants exist almost worldwide, within many civilizations. This suggests that not only Canaan, but also Mesopotamia, Africa, the Americas, Europe, and India had giants in ancient times. Now, regarding each of Goliath's brothers, who were all of the same giant lineage, the first one was named Lami, a giant much like Goliath. In 1 Chronicles 25, we read this about Lami. And there was war again with the Philistines, and Elhanan the son of Jair smote Lami, the brother of Goliath the Gittite, whose spear shaft it was like a weaver's organ. This passage offers fascinating details about Lami, Goliath's brother. One notable point in the text is the size and weight of his spear, for the weaver's organ is huge. That means if his spear measured up to a weaver's organ, it was undeniably very long and extremely heavy. Lami probably stood around the same height as Goliath or very close to it. Some assert that he was about 10 feet tall, or perhaps 10.5 feet. Another giant mentioned in Scripture, also Goliath's brother and from the same lineage, was named Ishbi-benob. In 2 Samuel 21-16, it is stated that Ishbi-benob, a descendant of the Rephaim giants, had a spearhead weighing roughly 300 shekels of bronze, marking it as tremendously heavy. He also carried a massive new sword, implying it was crafted for a giant. Some say just the tip of his spear weighed around 13 to 15 pounds, showing its immense heft. Scripture describes Ishbi-benob's sword as extraordinarily large and razor-sharp, befitting a giant. He belonged to Goliath's race and tried to injure or even slay David. But Abishai, son of Zeruiah and David's ally, arrived and vanquished Ishbi-benob, killing him. Interestingly, David himself faced this giant, Ishbi-benob, in another clash with a different giant. However, David was worn out by constant fights and needed backup. Abishai, his nephew, came to his aid and took down Ishbi-benob, who was likewise one of Goliath's siblings. By evaluating accounts of Ishbi-benob's massive armaments and considering him a giant, he was probably around 9 or 10 feet tall, if not taller. The third brother of Goliath was known as Scythe, another Rephaim giant, noted in 2 Samuel 21:18. In a separate encounter against the Philistines, Sibbechai the Hushathite defeated Scythe, another son of the giant Rephaim lineage. As for his height, he was likely around the same measure or slightly bigger or smaller than Goliath. It's assumed he stood around 6 cubits, roughly 9 to 10 feet tall. 2 Samuel 21:19 also speaks of another giant of Gath from Goliath's race, similarly called Goliath, known as Goliath Gittite. It says, "There was another battle against the Philistines in Gop, and Elhanan, the son of Jerothorigem the Bethlehemite, smote Goliath the Gittite, whose spear was the shaft like a weaver's organ." Much like one of Goliath's other brothers, this giant held a spear that resembled a weaver's organ, potentially around 10 feet long. What draws the most attention about this giant is his name, which is the same as the giant Goliath who was felled by King David. In this instance, it's Goliath the Gittite, not Goliath of Gath. Scripture notes 4 brothers of Goliath, but it doesn't end there, for there was also a 5th brother depicted as a colossal giant. Unlike the others, he has no recorded name, yet 2 Samuel 21:20 provides the account. There was also another battle at Gath, where there was a giant, a man of tall stature, who had in each hand 6 toes, and on each foot also 6 other 24 toes in all, and also this was a Rephaim, this was also one of the Rephaim race. This unnamed giant is portrayed as extraordinarily tall, probably the largest in David's era, surpassing Goliath and his brothers. His immense height intrigued many, along with the 6 fingers on each hand and foot, totaling 24 in all. He was undoubtedly a remarkable giant. If you had not heard of Goliath's brothers before, all of them giants, feel free to share your thoughts. And if you were already aware, please add your observations, especially if you'd like to see more content on these giants. I hope you enjoyed this thorough look at each of these giants. See you soon.